Hi, everyone. I'm Steve Altition, Director of Client Partnerships for Pacific Cascade Legal. And today we have Gloria Vanderhorst to talk about our early histories jump into the present without our awareness and undermine our interactions with our children and co-parenting. That's a mouthful, but before we start in, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself, Gloria?
Well, I'm a psychologist in private practice, and I have been doing this work for 50 years. That's a long time. And I love it. I cannot see myself stopping this work ever because when I see change in people, all right, take a set of parents who have decided to separate and divorce, but they have to share the parenting process. They start out distant, irritated, uncomfortable with each other. And as they learn how to focus on raising their children rather than focus on what irritates them about the other person, there's a magical change that takes place in their comfort level. And the same thing happens with my individual work and couples work. I love to see people change.
I love that. I love that. We were talking a little bit about before, you were talking about, you know, the awareness of your early histories or lack of awareness, both in, your children's and in your own. And can we talk about that a little bit about why that's an important thing to understand?
Well, it's true for all of us, all right? And that's why it makes it very important. Our brains hold on to every experience that we have ever had. Now, that's kind of a hard thing to sit with and realize, right? That the brain inside your skull is like a giant computer. It keeps everything. And because it keeps everything, some of it is easily accessible to you. All right. You can remember memories of the swimming pool at your grandfather's backyard,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
the hot dogs that were cooked on the grill and all those fun things that you did. Some of them are hidden, right? Like the time that your cousin held you under the water in that swimming pool for so long that you thought you were going to drown, right? And it terrified you. Now, that memory is probably in some kind of a tight little box and you don't know that it's there. You don't page back to it, you don't reflect on it. But when you go to a family gathering and you see that cousin, for some reason, you don't want to talk to him, right? And you don't know why. You just think, okay, yeah, he's not my favorite cousin, right? He could be, as an adult, a perfectly nice, important person to interact with, but that piece of history stops you from investigating, building a current relationship with that person. Our history does this to us all the time. It jumps into the present and it influences how we respond to the world around us. And if I could help that man uncover that piece of history, all right, then he would go have a conversation with that cousin and he would replay that with him. Do you remember the time that you scared me to death and almost drowned me in the pool, right? And they would build a new relationship around that memory that's traumatic for the one of them, probably not traumatic for the cousin, but now they can build a new relationship. And so that's the goal for all of us, is healing those
Yeah.
emotional injuries. And it's possible. That's the other great thing about our brains, is it's possible to find those injuries and to heal them so that we can a, become kind of more the person we were originally designed to be, right? Because those are roadblocks.
Yeah. Is that the same for boys and girls? I mean, is it
It is.
different or
Yep. Your brain does the same thing for boys and girls. The difference, however, is what the culture does for our
yeah.
boys, right?
Yep.
So actually, this is a little known fact, but boys come into the world with a broader range of emotional expression than girls do. So infant babies
Yep.
that are male have a broader range of emotional expression than girls do. But by and large, infants are interacted with by women. All right. And so women have this narrower range of comfort with emotions. Boys have this broader range of comfort with emotions, but infants are brilliant emotionally. That's their only survival mechanism. They have to read the people around them. They have to read the room. They have to understand the emotional dynamics that are happening around them in order to survive.
Yeah.
So when the boy gets more excited, right, and escalates more than mother's comfortable with, mother doesn't do this intentionally, but she'll move back, right? She'll withdraw, she'll look away, she'll send a signal to that boy that, hey, I'm not comfortable with your going that hot.
Yeah.
I don't like that, right? And this brilliant baby will take that immediately
Yeah.
and engage in a change because he's looking for survival.
Yeah.
And she has just said to him, if you go high, intense with emotion, you're in danger. And so he's going to narrow the range of emotional expression. It it
It,
happens to everyone that's a male.
that we had kind of talked about that a little bit, the kind of the range of expression, the communication, and how that is how it might be becoming more difficult today because you were saying, part of communication is talking and seeing each other, and there's not so much of that.
Oh, that is absolutely true. All right. We are into an environment where our children, and I'm really talking about even at the elementary school level, children are using cell phones.
Yeah.
And when they use the cell phone, they actually stop interacting with each other. More than 90% of communication is nonverbal. It is facial expression, body posture, movement, muscle tone, coloring, all of that is critical for communication. And today, our children are getting little to none of that because they're sitting next to each other, each one with a cell phone in hand, and they're typing and they're talking to each other. They're sending messages
Right.
to each other, right? They're not facing each other. They're not getting kind of the full emphasis of communication. They've cut themselves off from that. That to me puts us at risk, right? Because if
Yeah.
I'm getting an emotional connection with you, then I am going to be distant from you. There's an increase of possibility of misunderstanding you. There's an increase of possibility of being irritated and angry with you. It's
Yeah.
disastrous.
I was reading an article um, just yesterday, I think, about there are AI only schools forming
Hmm.
and getting, state registration. I mean, to actually be a school, an AI school, and that's got to increase that trend of not being person to person.
I've not heard of that, but it sounds terrifying.
It's terrifying. It does to me too.
Right. It will just completely diminish who we are as people. So let me give you an illustration with boys again, right? So when boys start to walk around, we continue to narrow their emotional resource. We don't like boys to cry, right? We don't
Yep.
like boys to be what we'll call upset or tender, right? We don't
Yep.
like boys playing in the doll corner, right? You
Yep.
can't go to the dress up corner unless you're going to get a cowboy hat, right? But you can't put on a scarf if you're a boy. And so we train our boys from preschool age to abandon access to the more sensitive feeling states that all human beings are capable of. And then when they grow up, we expect them to be able to develop an intimate relationship with a female or with a male friend or a male lover. It's not possible. It
Yeah.
doesn't happen, right? That's why our jails are filled with men instead of women, because they get into trouble when they cannot express what their feeling states
Yeah.
are. So they use their bodies and they act out and they get loud instead.
You would you would you would think that with the kids being in this state, when you get to something like a divorce, which is a very emotional time, and they are having trouble expressing emotions, um, it's going to be much harder on the kids to, I think, relate.
Right. It is.
And how could it not be?
Right. All right. So particularly if you're looking at the boys in the family system, right? We've already trained them to shut off access, ignore a full range of emotional expression. And now we have distressed them probably beyond belief, right? To have your parents separate and then have that loyalty conflict that would be natural for a child. Parents don't even have to contribute to
Yeah,
that, right? There's a natural loyalty conflict of how do I continue to relate to dad? How do I continue to relate to mom? And of course, parents contribute to that,
yeah,
right? Most moms and dads go pretty hard on wanting to solicit the child to understand them and their particular perspective about relating to the other parent.
yeah, yeah. And that kind of leads, it at least led to me, to a book you wrote, because you sort of you were advocating that it's not, we're talking about kids, but we're not just talking about, our kids that are now
Right.
9 or 10 or 12. We're talking also about ourselves.
Hmm.
And if we don't somehow figure out why we're doing what we're doing, and learning about ourselves, you know, how are we going to ever be able to figure out our kids?
Right. We do have to be reflective. And I do have a book that facilitates that. It's a journal book. It's called Read, Reflect, Respond, the 3 R's of growth and change. And it's a unique journal book in that it has an essay on one page, and the facing page is blank with a couple of stimulating questions, but you don't even have to read them. And the facing page is blank for a very good reason, because we store information in terms of sight, sound, and language. And most journal books only think that it's important to access language, so they have lines on the page where you're just supposed to write.
Right.
That's not realistic. We hold so much information in terms of visual images, in terms of sounds that have been important to us. And so the facing page is blank so that you can draw, you can scribble, you could be intense with pressure, you can tear it if you want, right?
Yeah.
But lose the essay on the other side unless you tape it back
Yeah.
together. But it is a way to access more information about what you're holding in your brain that has emotional significance and
Yeah.
that you need to pay attention to. So it's a fabulous book for parents who are going through a divorcing process. It's a great book for any adult who really wants to learn more about themselves.
I love the idea of having it blank because it's like you said, it's much more emotional sometimes to like draw something
Right.
or write a word.
Right.
It's
Right.
4 inches tall and
Right. Right. And not have
40 pounds.
it,
Yeah.
right. Not have it fit in the lines.
Yeah.
Right.
And you had used a term that change requires emotional insight. And so you got to get that emotional insight to
You
yourself.
do. You do,
Yeah.
right? And so this is a way for it to magically, if you will, come out of your brain. This is an invitation to your brain to show you more than just words, to really show you feelings and earlier experiences through drawing and through the pressure that you would use on the page. And it works. That's the
Wow.
other great thing
Yeah.
about it, is that it really works.
Well, it's the written page that you have just, telling people what to do. Like, the doctor
No,
said blah, blah,
no,
blah.
no,
Or is it like
no.
stories or how
They're
does it
stories.
inspire them?
The facing pages are one page stories, all right? They're reflections on pieces of history, they're challenges about the future. They're just pretty simple stories collected from the blog that I do.
Yeah.
So they can run the gamut from visits to your grandparents to exploration of the future that you might have done as an adolescent, to think about who do I want to be when I go to college and go into the workforce. They run the gamut, just a
Yeah.
collection of essays.
I like that. I like the idea of reading because, especially something like that, because it sort of unlocks your brain.
It does.
And the more you sort of read it and then start to write, the more you kind of remember
That's
and
right.
comes out.
That's right. Yeah, these essays, some of them throw you back into the past and early childhood. Some of them throw you into the future. Some of them ground you right in the present with,
Right.
what's going on in the present socially, culturally. So some of them just face you with
Yeah.
what's happening now.
Yep. So relating that again back sort of to co-parenting, which
Hmm.
we're a family law firm and co-parenting is a huge deal with our clients.
Right.
And it's something that's just sort of like thrown on them. And
Hmm.
everyone reacts kind of differently and not sure how to react. And so I really like something like this. Um, and you were saying you do therapist work with co-parents and
I
co-parenting.
do. I do.
And
Parent
can you talk a
coordinating
little about
work.
that?
So I
Yeah,
see parents who are court ordered into parent coordination to learn how to continue to raise their children in separate households. And it's an incredibly difficult process
yeah,
to master that. You can master that. That's the good news, right? You can learn how to do that and how to do it well and raise children who will describe to their college mates or to their workmates that they got a benefit from moving back and forth between these two households, that they were really able to build a relationship with each parent. Whereas when mom and dad are in the same household, sometimes that doesn't happen,
yeah,
right? Because one parent is kind of out busier than the other. And so parenting tends to fall to one, not to both. But this requires that both parents are front and center for relating and building relationship with their children. It can pay off big time for
yeah.
both child and for the parent. And that's my goal, is to help parents see this. This is an opportunity, not
Yeah.
not to fight with your ex-spouse over parenting,
Yeah. Well,
but to take full responsibility for this is the way I want to parent. Educate yourself, because there's tons of ways to educate yourself about doing good parenting, whether it's reading or taking a class or getting a coach to help you. There are tons of ways to improve and challenge yourself to do a really good job of parenting your kids. And that's what you want in the long run. All right.
yeah.
These people are going to grow up,
Yeah.
right? They're
Yep.
either going to stay in relationship with you and build a stronger bond and a better friendship, or, they're going to send you a card once or twice a year, right? Not
Mhm.
answer your phone calls, right? Hope and pray that you never come to visit.
You get a lot of that. You get a lot of that. The a couple things. One is on like, uh parenting coordination. That's a really interesting thing because in a lot of cases that's ordered by the court
Right,
and you're appointed
right.
and you're given some power.
Yes.
And so there is a little bit of a carrot and a stick.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's got to help. But I see time and time again where we talked about visiting your childhood or opening it
Right.
up, but it seems like a lot of co-parents are stuck with visiting, the last 6 months
They are very stuck. They're
and and getting
and
past
the,
that.
the reason, right, that they're ordered into parent coordination is they can't figure it out together.
Yeah.
All
Right.
right. So not everybody is ordered into parent coordination.
Right.
These are the toughest parents. All right. These are the ones who have said, I don't really want to cooperate with you. I don't want to share parenting with you. All right. I would like you to disappear and I'll just take responsibility for parenting. So these are tough cases. So, first, you have to get them to see the value of
Yeah.
their children having a relationship with each
Right.
one of them, right?
Yep.
Even if one parent is incredibly difficult or disturbed in some way, there's still a value in having relationship with that person. Maybe you modify the type of visit or the type of time that that child spends with a parent, but that child is made from that parent, right? Has been influenced by that parent, even if the child's been adopted. That
Yep.
child has been influenced by that parent for a significant period of time. It's critical that they understand who each of their parents are, how each of their parents have shaped who they are, and that they develop a healthy relationship with each one of those parents, even if that does mean healthy for me is that you keep this type of distance.
Right.
Sometimes that is healthy.
Yeah. No, yeah. And bringing the kids in sometimes. I mean, there's family therapy,
That's
there's
right.
child therapy, there's co-parent therapy, and sometimes it's better to put them all together, and sometimes it's not. And you got to
Absolutely.
figure that out.
Absolutely. Sometimes I've brought the kids in just to give them the voice that they need to encourage their parents and hold their parents accountable for stopping the fighting, right? That's a waste of time and energy for the child. The
Yeah,
child doesn't get a benefit from that hostility. In fact, the child is harmed,
yeah,
right, is hurt, is intimidated by that hostility. So often children can do a really good job of educating their parents and changing the tone and the attitude that the parent has because they don't want to be alienated from their children, all right?
Right.
They want
Right.
to have a relationship with a child. And if a child says, if you keep telling me negative stories about mom or about dad, right, I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's powerful.
In a lot of people getting divorced, feeling like, we're going to be amiable, or do it together or try.
Hard to do,
Part of the
but
thing they,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
it
part of the
can.
thing they say is okay, we're just not going to let our divorce involve the children. But,
Mhm.
it's almost like pretending it's not happening. And
Right.
I don't know that that's that healthy either.
Right. Your voice divorce does involve the
Yeah.
children, right? And the children are hurt, confused, hostile. I mean, they have all kinds of reactions as a result. And
Yeah.
so you have to look realistically at what's the impact on these particular children, because
Right.
it's going to be different, family to family, individual to individual, and you have to care about the reaction on that particular child in order to build support, in order to provide a structure, in order to give comfort. Every child is different, right? You can't just do it one way. Every child is different. And so you have to work together to appreciate what does this child need in our family system and what does this other one need. You
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
treat them all the same.
And that's what you do to help. And I think that's just wonderful. Wow. We just blew through 30 minutes.
Yippee.
And we are unfortunately out of time. But Gloria, first I want to thank you for being here today to talk about this,
Welcome.
issue of how, our early histories, come into the present, and we're not
Right.
even aware it's because of that. And the same thing with our children and how that all affects co-parent. I think it's a great topic, and thank you for asking.
You're welcome.
And
I'm
it
happy to be
is
here.
so wonderful. So, Gloria, before we go though, I want to let you tell anyone how they can get a hold of you or your book, if they would like to.
The easiest way to find me is go to my website, and that's www.drvanderhorst.com. So it's www.drvanderhorst.com. You'll find all kinds of resources there. You'll find ways to contact me directly. You'll find my phone number there. You'll find an opportunity to set time on my calendar. And I want you to get a copy of Read, Reflect, Respond, the 3 R's of growth and change. You can get that in any independent bookstore. Walk in, ask them to order it. Any place in the world, the publisher will send that book. And you can also find it on Amazon if you want it delivered to your door.
I love it. I love it. Wow. Thank you again. And everyone,
Welcome.
thank you for joining us today. Another great talk, a great topic. And if you do have any questions again about how to get to hold of Gloria, you can, or about this topic, you can post it here and we can help you get connected with her and the question. Or again, you can go straight to her. So until next time, everyone, stay safe, stay happy.